Moving on, I'm excited to talk about our little question and answer session. Knowing this individual, I highly suggest putting forth challenging and difficult queries because he loves nothing better than a challenge. Today, presenting the presentation of Thorn Ropewalker, cadet candidate, we have Dr. Michael Alexander. Elderberry Ropewalker of the Gnome Lower Council is presenting his younger brother, Moss, Thorn Ropewalker, as a candidate for the Cadet Agent of the Council. As is traditional, after introductory remarks, Elderberry will answer questions concerning the candidate. Members of the audience are asked to take on the roles of members of the council and to ask questions of Elderberry concerning the background and experience of Thorn Ropewalker, preparatory to voting on his candidacy. And with that, please start thinking of the most difficult questions. I present to you the presentation of Thorn Ropewalker.
It is always a delight to be among my fellow gnomes in the council. It is a challenge to see that we will face a world's worth of problems, and yet I'm delighted to know that we are always the kinds of people who can solve the problems regardless of our differences, regardless of the type of gnomes and everything else. Now, one of the things which every council must do is have not just talk and advice. For that, my friends, we are a highly skilled and talented group. But we must also sometimes send forth members to do various tasks from us, some surreptitious, some very open. And for these, we have a special set of gnomes set forth as agents of the council. It is my pleasure today to offer to you a candidate to serve as a cadet agent of this council. It is rare, very rare, that a member of the council presents one of their own family members as a cadet agent. And yet I am doing so today because my brother, Thorn Ropewalker, has performed admirably and proven himself to be worthy as a candidate for your consideration. As is traditional, lest there be any ill feelings, he is sitting outside the room for you and I to discuss and evaluate his candidacy. Let me tell you a little bit about my brother. He has reached the tender age of 12, the minimum age for a cadet agent. And yet, ever since he has been in the public eye, and even before then, he has served with magnificent skill. Those of you who were here 6 years ago will remember the tale I told of Thorn finding, locating the polymorphed kobold conspiracy and saving the members of the town of the Burrows along the Ink Road, protecting those members and every magician out there who writes scrolls, etc., from the dangers that were represented by them. 2 years later, again, a mere young lad with no experience or skills. Well, we of the circus have used Thorn to talk to the children, because children are a marvelous source of intelligence. And Thorn has become a genius at gathering the intelligence from discussing with the children, who will share secrets that ordinary mortals, ordinary adults would not share. And that is how he discovered the changeling rebellion in enough time to get word to the elves of this danger to their ranks. Needless to say, we've all benefited from the goodwill that the elves have shown us since Thorn brought this forth. And then, a few short months ago, Thorn actually became actively adventuring, not just performing in the circus where he travels from place to place, not just sending information back and forth with a network of carrier pigeons, which he is responsible for, but actually going forth into the world, working with others to solve such problems as the witch who was threatening the lives of young children, stealing first skills and then their very lives from them. Now, some of you have heard the story and some of you have not, but just 3 weeks ago, a pirate ship showed forth in Oceanus, and the ship bearing various animals which were necessary for the zoos and the circuses was set upon by pirates. Single-handedly, Thorn brought down and sank that pirate ship. This is the young gnome I am presenting to you. This is the young gnome, a future for every gnome in the world. And I present him to you as a candidate cadet, a candidate agent for our people. I stand before you ready to answer any questions you may have about Thorn, his background, his skills, or his candidacy. Please feel free to ask. Now, I will tell you, some of you may need to know, that since I've been spotlighted, I cannot necessarily see you raise your hand, so you may have to speak up. Ah, yes, Mr. Stockton.
I have heard of Thorn's many accomplishments. My question is, if he is so qualified, would it not have been better to have a different member of the council bring him in today as a candidate as opposed to his brother, so that there would be no appearance of impropriety?
That is something which I considered very strongly. And of course, I realize that not only am I a member of the council, but Papa Ropewalker is also. And that would be a very heavy bias in the council of the Ropewalker family. But no one knows him better than I. I have worked with him for years. I have seen the things he has done, and I have been part of some of his adventures directly. And so I believe my superior knowledge of his background best serves the needs of the council to be able to evaluate the young gnome. Yes, Mr. Brewer.
You spoke about this gnome taking down an entire ship of pirates single-handedly. Please share with me exactly how he did that, because in my mind, it seems more realistic that as opposed to this gnome doing that, probably paid these pirates to pretend to attack the group and then sink the ships themselves. How do we know that he wasn't in cahoots with said pirates?
The pirates in question were sailing in the dread Yellowbeard ship, the Prince Andrew, which has harried the coast for many a year. Now, this tale was told not just by Thorn, but by the members of the ship that he was sailing on at the time. And they have brought forth the tail section of the Prince Andrew to prove that that ship, that horrid ship which has harried the seas for so long, was in fact brought down. They tell the story of how he managed to take advantage of the firebolt and using his beloved pet falcon, dropped alchemist fire on the sails, setting the ship ablaze. No, my friend, this was not some silly, made-up story. And the dead pirates and their tail section prove that the decimation was very, very real. Yes, Mistress Huff.
Young Thorn seems to have accomplished much. If we should admit him as a cadet, what proof have you to offer that he can be relied upon to do what our council asks him to do, and not to simply skitter off to perform additional heroics like sinking a pirate ship, ostensibly?
I think if you look at the history of the Ropewalker family, a history of tradition going back for generations, if you look at the dedication which his father, Papa Ropewalker, my father as well, has shown, if you look at my service to the council, you will realize the tradition runs strong in his blood, and you can trust anyone with that kind of a background. That is simply what the Ropewalkers do and will always do, now and forever. Yes, Madam Kate.
I would like to not necessarily, while also call into question, express a worry. You are wanting to induct a child. And that concerns me a bit because he has done such heroics at such a young age. If he continues to do these heroics, how can we ensure that he will grow up to be happy and healthy, have a normal child? Can he have a normal childhood if we induct him into the council?
A normal childhood? That
As
is
normal
not-
as a circus worker can be.
Normal is not his way. Dedication is his way. It runs, again, as I have said, deep in his soul. He is not some wild, untended, untrained youth, such as, for example, Hadley, of whom we've all heard from the Elven clans. He is someone with tradition and dedication and loyalty. And like any circus performer, he understands that life is difficult, but it is also a joy to do properly. It is an environment which has consistently been shown to be full of people who the outside world may think is less than properly moral. But in fact, they are the most moral families in the world, and you can count on him to be raised and trained well, even within that. But I thank thee for thy question. Oh, now, this is a voice which I have expected to have challenges from, but I fear not your challenge, Mistress Kelly. Bring it forward.
Well, I didn't want to bring this up, but it did come to my attention. And what say you about the allegations of illegal dragon breeding and trading? Dragons which have later been said to have decimated several towns and villages.
Of course, an illegal trade in dragons is something which is frightening. And it is something which all of us need to be concerned by. But I think if you look at Thorn's own interaction with animals, creatures of all sorts, you will find that like any forest gnome, he is properly concerned with the preservation of a natural ecology. And having dragons run loose and uncontrolled simply is a violation of what forest gnomes like Thorn stand for. And you can count on him to serve as one of the council's agents to prevent, or at least hone in and limit that kind of illegal behavior. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why we need someone like Thorn to be serving as one of our agents. Thank you for your question. Ah, and the Green Knight himself comes forward. Welcome, sir. While we appreciate private circus members, we appreciate it more sometimes when you turn on your speaking voice.
Thank you, Ropewalker. My concern with the presentation that you have provided for the cadet candidate is it speaks loudly to Thorn's ability to operate as a solo agent. What I would be interested in finding out is sometimes our cadets are called upon to act in a group to decimate manticores and foes that would be beyond a single person. Can you tell me of Thorn's ability to work in a team? Because I understand he's had challenges in the past working with some team members, and indeed is known to associate with such disreputable people such as Hadley.
If you look at Thorn's first official acts in the world, he in fact was traveling with a group of many different races. And he went through Oceanus and provided interesting and useful information to the rulers of Oceanus as to what was going on. There were elves, there were, well, there was a full variety of things to work from. He has, in fact, when he was 6 and he found the polymorphed cobalt conspiracy, he did so not simply individually, but by working with others to determine where the danger was, what it was, and to make sure that the information was conveyed to the elven forces nearby to bring them down, because he was only 6, but he knew that he had to bring the information forward. When the Changeling Rebellion reared its ugly head again, he didn't try to stop single-handedly a massive rebellion of an entire village. No, he brought the word forward to those who needed help. He has consistently shown that he can work with others, that he is not a solo, but an adventurer of proper form. And as a member of the circus, he performs with family and with other circus workers. He has worked with the animal handlers. He has worked with the darling, the Midway herself. He has been a member of every team he's worked with. So your fears are groundless. And again, the brewer, if he's not sipping too much of the brew, has a question.
Yes, well, as you can see by the lineup behind you here, this is a small council. You are a member of the council. Your father is a member of the council. And now you would like Thorn to be a member of the council. With only 6 current members, that's a lot of Ropewalker for one council. It would only take you intimidating one of us other members, and you would immediately have a majority with 4 out of the 7. Why should I be comfortable bringing on this powerful Thorn of yours when the Ropewalker clan would be able to immediately have control over all of the leadership?
Let me start off by pointing out that this is the lower council, and Papa Ropewalker sits on the upper council and therefore is in a different administrative body. Second of all, I am suggesting Thorn at this point to serve as a candidate agent, not as a voting member of the council. That would be an entirely different decision. And therefore, your fear is groundless. Yes, Master Johnson.
So my question for you is whether you can put before the council any other competent individuals who are not related by way of blood to the candidate and who can give testament to his character.
The answer to your question is that there are no other members of the council at this point who are also gnomes. And you must understand, of course, this being the lower gnome council, we cannot accept into our ranks or even into presentation non-gnomes. We work with them, absolutely. And Thorn has worked with many non-gnomes, but no, for this council's deliberation, we must properly admit only gnomes to the discussion. And so I'm afraid, no, we cannot answer your request. And I find that our time is gone, and I thank you all, and sit among yourselves and discuss, and later, please feel free to vote. But remember, Thorn Ropewalker serves as a powerful force for good, and we need that. Thank you.